Welcome to What's Your Story, where we, Jaime Marco,
and Stan Brown,
delve into the extraordinary lives of everyday people.
Listen in as we uncover the unique tales that shape who we are,
one story at a time.
Hey, let's get ready to explore today's story.
Let's do it.
Let's change clothes.
Hi, Dad.
It's Jamie. Hello.
We match.
Hey, we're clean. It's the look of purity. Matches my beard.
I hate that joke. So, oh my goodness. So I have been working a couple different things today, but it's so interesting. I went to college. You paid for it.
Someone paid for it.
Very fortunate. Thank you very much. But it was many, many moons ago. Went to University of Central Florida. Woo, go Knights.
Jamie, you're not Indian.
What do you mean?
Many moons ago.
Oh, whatever. Anyway. Oh, by the way, there's a super moon.
Tonight, blue moon tonight.
Huge
blue
super
moon.
Yes.
Sorry.
God, I love you to the moon and back. No, anyway, so I was in a sorority, Tri Delta sorority, and had some sorority sisters, met a bunch of people, but I've kept in touch with a few of them, but two of them specifically. And it's really cool because one of them who I've kept in touch with now has become a partner in collaboration. And so I had a conversation with her this morning about this new project that I'm working on. And she's a publisher, and we originally started going down this other path of the book that I wanted to get out there. And it just felt like force. It felt like I had to do this one topic and this one thing, and it felt super forced. And then, as you know, I've had an epiphany recently about what I really want to do. And I was sharing with her this morning, and she was like, yes, go there, do that. The fire in your belly is to do just that. And it was really cool. And we had this great conversation about how to start that. Where does it go? And she sent me this text afterwards that said, da, 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 blah, blah, blah. Excited about your new focus. It feels so much more aligned with you. And I tell you this because our guest today is along that same path, right? It's found something that didn't really know where he wanted to go, but a part of his life triggered him to want to get there. So I think we'll just leave it there and we should just welcome him in. What do you think?
I got nothing else to do.
All right, cool. Let's do it. All right, here we go. All right. You don't know him. I've only met him once.
What's his name?
Russell Burke. Russell Burke.
Burke.
Here we go. Sensei. Let's see. Here we go. Hopefully, you never know, as you're welcoming a guest in, you hope that the tech is going to be good. But because we are What's Your Story Unfiltered, we're just going to roll with it. So, Russell,
Hope he's not in the shower. Calling Sensei.
Hey, look at that. Can you hear us okay? All right.
4x4. Hello, Sensei.
How are you?
Well, thank you.
All right. You both need to do 20 push-ups.
I did them before I came on board.
I'm kidding.
You know what? You joke, but my dad is all about that. So it's really interesting. So good to see you again. So for our listeners that are tuning in, we've only met once in our life, and I want to just kind of give some background. And this is my dad. That's Stan Russell.
Hey, Russell.
Hey, nice to meet you.
How do you want us to refer to you? Sensei Russell?
No, just Russell.
Okay, perfect. And for our listeners, they're going to be either listening on the podcast or watching the video, so they can't see that you are in your full gear. Or what would you call that? Your
gi.
Your gi. That's right. Your gi. My daughter. I should know this. My daughter's in.
Hey, shame on you. Jeez.
Yeah, I know. 30 push-ups.
I know. I need to, right? But so we met at a karate championship. You were there studying, and I think your story is incredible. We sat, at the Disney resort, and I was sitting with my husband and my daughter. You were next to us, and I just briefly heard snippets of your story, and I was like, oh my gosh, you're incredible, amazing. The world needs to hear more of you. So thank you so much for being here and joining us. And really, our conversation is going to be super organic. We kind of want to hear how it goes, but we do like to start off with a similar question every time. And here's the question for you today. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being a day where you probably should not have gotten out of bed and shouldn't be peopling, to 10 being a day, it is the best day of your life. You don't have a worry in the world, like cloud 9. What's your number today?
I usually try to stay pretty consistent at about an 8. I'd say a 7 or an 8. I never try to be too high. I'm trying to never be too low. But I don't like to be just in the middle. I like to, positivity. Try to spread the joy.
I love that. And that clearly has filtered into your life as well too. So thanks for sharing that. What would it take for you to go like from a 7 or 8 to a 7.25 or an 8.25?
You know, it's when I see the parents that come in and the kids that come in, and even parents that train and adults that come in, to see the smile on their faces and to see them have a good workout and to just have them shake my hand afterwards, and it's just that always puts me on a 10. I mean, there's no question about it.
As a parent of a martial artist, I love that piece of it. Like at the end of the class, when they go and they get respect and they're getting hugs, and we're super fortunate. And we would go to your school, but you're not in our local area. So tell us a little bit about, how you got to the role you're in now. Because being a sensei, that doesn't just happen overnight. So tell us a little bit about that backstory there.
Um, what first got me into martial arts originally was that I was really small for my age and I was bullied a lot in school.
Mhm.
So it's the typical, just being bullied.
Sure.
And I had gone to a movie. It was a Chuck Norris movie back in the early 80s. And I saw Chuck Norris kicking five people and beating them up. And I was like, whatever that is, I want to learn that. 'Cause I get picked on a lot.
That's Hollywood.
That is Hollywood. That is definitely Hollywood. And so I started training in martial arts. I was raised by a single mother. She worked she worked very hard for me. I always knew that she loved me and cared for me, but I also know how hard she worked even at such a young age. But I did not have that male role model in my life. So when I started training in martial arts at 12 years old, and my instructor, this man that I just thought was so amazing and incredible, the things he could do physically, and just the way that people looked at him in awe and just respected everything that he did. I was like that. I mean, it was hard to
Sure.
not gravitate to that and want to be a part of that. So when he stepped in and started teaching me, I was about 16 years old, and I always remember thinking I would love to own a martial arts school someday, and hopefully have, if I could have half of the impact on others that he had on me, I knew I would be doing okay.
Were you gifted athletically at that age?
No, I wouldn't say so. I mean, I hadn't really been involved at sports up until that point. I did a little bit of wrestling when I was, I think, in fifth or sixth grade. I tried football. I was very little. I was terrible. I never tried baseball. I hadn't tried soccer at the time, but after I started training in martial arts and got more coordinated and started understanding my balance and hand-eye coordination improved. I went back to wrestling in high school. I wrestled for 3 years. I played soccer for 3 years, and absolutely loved it. And then I did do feel, I mean, I was never a superior athlete by any stretch, but I feel like I did pretty well in those sports.
Well, you are superior now because tell us what degree black belt are you? Like something off the
The
charts.
whole gi is black. What are you talking
I
about?
know.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, does your gi match the belt? Like,
Yeah. No, so this belt is, you said it's audio, right?
Both.
well, no, there'll be video. They'll be on YouTube as well too, so they might watch.
Oh,
But
okay.
yeah, well,
So this belt is called, it's a panel belt, or called a master's belt. So that belt when you get to be, what that means is you've really been training for just a long time and you're officially old. That's what happens when you get that. But that's called, it's a master's belt. Different martial arts will award them at different levels. Our style, my instructor is a seventh degree black belt. He's been a seventh degree black belt forever. He's never sought promotion. He never was concerned with rank, because his philosophy was always that the rank doesn't matter. It's the character that matters. It's the individual that matters. Just because you wear a black belt necessarily mean, or what degree it is doesn't make you a better person. So he never emphasized the degrees. But with that being said, I'm a fifth degree black belt, and he has promoted three other students to the rank of a fifth degree black belt.
What style? What style?
It's a style called Silky Sondan Karate. It's his system. He trained in Taekwondo, Shotokan, Kung Fu, Aikido, Thai boxing. He's
Wow.
done a lot of different martial arts. He's Vietnamese, and he had access to a lot of different martial arts growing up. When he moved to the States in the early 70s, he founded that there was a lot of politics in martial arts back in the 70s and even in the early 80s, and he didn't like the politics of martial arts, so he created his own system
Hmm.
so that he could run and teach the school the way that he wanted to. And he's an engineer by trade. He's very intelligent. Came over to the U.S., didn't speak much English, was learning all of the high level math you have to do to be an engineer, while learning English. So he was very dedicated to improving his communication skills, and it has always been a business professional, even when he was teaching martial arts full time as
So
well.
safe to say, since all the different styles that he studied himself have different styles, different techniques to them, he's probably teaching a composite of many of those.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. There were some martial arts have personalities, just like people do. You have softer styles, you have harder styles. You have people that are aggressive, you have people that are passive. So you really need to find a martial art that kind of suits your personality. And he really tried to stay in the middle as far as the hard and the soft styles. There are times where you may not want to be overly physical when engaging somebody, and there may be times when you need to be. So not all self-defense situations are created equal, and they may not even be potentially dangerous. One of my students was in San Francisco, and a homeless guy was very aggressive with him and his family, and walked up and grabbed him by his arm and was trying to get money from him. And he was like, leave me, and tried to walk away. And the guy was grabbing him, and he just said, hey, I did this little move you showed me. It wasn't anything fancy. He didn't hit the guy or kick the guy. He just wanted to get away from him. And he just did this little move, and he was like, man, it was great. He was like, it was so simple and it worked. And I mean, is that a self-defense situation? I don't know, but it worked. The
Sure.
guy didn't need to be punched or kicked or
Wow.
anything like that.
God, I have so many questions for you. I don't even know. So how did you match up with your teacher? Like, how did that come about? Because listen, you're 12, you get into martial arts, you're doing things. How did you get him to be your mentor?
So I had mentioned to my mom about the Chuck Norris movie that I'd gone to. She didn't go with us to the movie, and she just remembered me saying that I wanted to train in martial arts. So she was back when we had the paper. She's flipping through the paper, and she's just reading through, and there's a bunch of little coupons and ads and so forth. And she saw a month of free karate lessons.
Hmm.
And she's like, hey, you still interested in that karate thing? I was like, yeah, absolutely. And she said, well, I have a month of free karate lessons right here. And I said,
Wow.
thank you very much. And that was it.
And that's the same instructor that you train under today?
Same one.
That's
That
that's uncommon. Usually you get different instructors in your life, but that's a great match.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. When you're young and you don't have the experience, I joke with my parents that come in here, and I will say, because I'm always curious, it's not uncommon for people to move from place to place, and
Sure.
maybe you trained in a martial art where you came from, or maybe you trained when you were younger and now you have children, you want them to train. You never
Sure.
know what their experience is. And so I always joke, I say, well, do you have any martial arts experience? And they're like, no, none whatsoever. I says, you don't know anything. No, I said, good. Then I can be terrible and you'll never know the difference. And And so and I, and I'm joking, but at the same time, it's kind of true. I didn't know that my instructor was good or bad. I just know that I gravitated to his personality and the way that he was training me as well as all the other students.
Where were you living at that time?
Richmond, Virginia.
Okay.
So is he, because you're now in Florida,
I am.
so is he in Florida or are you still training under him or that's no longer?
No, he is. I still call him. I talk to him quite often. He's lived in Houston, Texas for several years. Even though we're a small karate organization, we have about 8 active schools. I'm the only one that wanted to do this full time. Open a commercial school. All the other schools are in smaller programs, recreation centers, and so forth. And for me, this is just what I always wanted to do. So before I opened the karate school, I had actually taken my LSAT and had considered law school. And I was 30,
Different kind
30
of fighting.
years old. Right, right. Different kind of fighting. And I was like, do I really want to at 30, 32 years old? Do I want to go to law school? Is that something I'm very passionate about? Or do I want to open the karate school that I said I wanted to do when I was younger? And I was at a point where I'd owned a different business and sold that part of the business to make a move.
Leap of
And
faith.
my move was, this is what I've always wanted to do. I'm going to try to do it and sink or swim. Law school will always be there,
Mhm.
but I really want to give this a shot. And I did, and I was just very fortunate.
And how many years have you been doing it now for your own school?
We opened August 1st, 2011. So we just had our 13-year anniversary.
Incredible. So it's funny because you mentioned Chuck Norris, right? And I remember like all like the memes when they first come out, I Chuck Norris him or I did this. But at that same time in the 80s, there was another big movement with karate, Karate Kid, which has now made its comeback through I can't I just lost the what's the show called?
Cobra Kai.
Thank you, Cobra Kai. So you are, in a, dojo, you're teaching kids of that age. Are you finding that some of them are motivated by watching that show because it's become so back and because listen, when I think about Karate Kid, you think about like Daniel Russo, good, Johnny bad, right? And so now that you are having kids coming in to get that lesson, are you seeing that same influence that you may have had with Chuck Norris with Cobra Kai and that coming
I
back?
do. I do. I see that a lot. But the interesting thing that I have found for me is that the parents are the ones that the Karate Kid has such an important influence on their life, and you just the morals, that the little small little lessons, wax on and wax off, paint the fence, and how these little things you do can affect your character long term. And so I find that the parents have pushed the kids, hey, you should check out this show, you should watch this show, and they all love it. It's amazing because it's not the best choreography, but it's a great. I love the fact that they kept the 80s choreography, the fighting choreography. I think it's great.
Mhm.
And it is a wonderful show. And I've been very fortunate. I have met Marty Cove several times, who plays the sensei in the bad sensei in
Mm.
the Karate Kid and in the Cobra Kai. And he is so not like his character. He is very kind, very warm, very approachable. It's when you see him on screen and then you meet him, you're just like, wow, it's almost like he's acting.
Is he John Kreese was his name, right? John
John
Kreese.
Kreese.
Is he a martial artist in real life?
I don't I don't think so. I don't think that he is, but
He looks like he
I
could be.
honestly don't know. I'm sorry.
He looks like he could be.
He looks like he could be, absolutely. He still has all his hair.
Yeah.
I don't know how he did that.
I mean, he's got to be like in his 70s, I would imagine.
Mhm.
Is
He's
that a
still
bad thing?
sweep the leg, sweep the leg.
Yeah,
No.
sweep the leg. Yeah. I have a picture that he autographed for me, and it says "sweep the leg" on it, and it's just I
Uh,
love it. And when kids come in, I say, well, I have this "I love me" wall, which a lot of karate schools do. You get pictures taken with all of these different influential people that you have met throughout the years. You put them up, and it's really just parents walk in and they go, "Oh, wow, look, oh, you've met all of these people. That's great." What they don't realize is all those people got to meet me.
Oh, I like it. Was
Well,
Yeah.
one of them
they have
ever
their
Chuck
wall
Norris?
too.
What
They
I'm
about
have
Chuck?
their
sorry.
wall.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Dad. What'd you say?
They have their wall also.
Yeah.
They do. They do. I'm not sure how many walls I've made, but yeah, so when they walk in and they see the Sensei Kreese on there and a lot of other people and of course they go right to that picture because he's in Cobra Kai right now, so they like it.
What about Chuck Norris? Is he on that wall?
Chuck Norris, I have autographed Chuck Norris pictures at my house, but I did not. I've never gotten to meet Chuck. I almost got to meet him several years ago at an event in Las Vegas, but I wasn't able to attend it at the time. But one of Chuck Norris's really good friends, whose name is Bill Superfoot Wallace, is there. I train with him. He is my kickboxing instructor. So
Impressive.
yeah, so I haven't got to meet Chuck, but it's like 2 degrees of Chuck Norris.
Yeah.
So I haven't got to meet Chuck, but I've gotten to spend a lot of time with
And
Bill.
Chuck knows Kevin Bacon, so you're there.
He does. Everybody knows Kevin Bacon.
Everybody.
Everybody.
Except for our younger listeners. They're like,
on, on behalf of this, on behalf of the Silver-Haired Nation, how old is your oldest client? Or student, I
My
should say.
my oldest student is 73, 73 or 74.
How long has he been with you?
5 years.
what are you finding is so you've got like your adult students and you've got your kid students. You said that some of the parents are influenced by what's going on. They want them to come in and get those lessons, like the Mr. Miyagi in you. To some of them may need that father figure like you found as well too. What are you finding is the drive for your older students? They're saying, I've never done, like 5 years ago, he was 68 years old. I don't do math in public, but I think that's right. What at 68 was like, I want to go do karate. Like, what are you finding? You don't have to talk about him specifically, but I'm just curious, what are you finding in your adult students that is driving them to want to do that at that age?
In many cases, they did it when they were younger, or it was something that they always wanted to do, and they either had to quit for whatever reason. They relocated, they got married, they had a family, didn't have time for it, and now their kids are older, and they want to get back to something that they enjoyed. I don't know. And the other side of that is all of my adult instructors that I have all started with their kids. So they start training together. And a lot of times the student will start training the children, and the parents are sitting there watching, and they're like, you know what, I should be out there too. And they train together. And then the kids get older and they actually move on, and the parents are like, well, I'm staying with it. And they actually stay after their kids leave. And I think that's just, I understand
That's great.
kids change, they grow and want to try different things, or but yeah, I love the fact that the parents stay, and my senior instructors, both of my students that I've promoted to sensei level have been started with their kids.
That's incredible. You mentioned earlier about one of your students who had to do a little move, self-defense or whatever it is. And I imagine that you're getting some kids who they come in and they think that karate is a fighting, right? It's a fighting thing. But, we have been taught, I did Taekwondo as a kid, that it's more about defending yourself and being, aware of your surroundings and being able to handle something should something happen. So how do you combat that with your students that want to come in, that they're at a very impressionable age, some of them, between 10 and 15, where the hormones are going crazy and the fights are starting to happen? How do you get them to understand what the art is truly about and to navigate that if they're being bullied like you were as well?
Being bullied, a lot of it is about confidence in the individual. So what I teach and what a lot of other schools, it's, I don't think I'm a particularly amazing instructor. I think I'm probably pretty average. But what I do feel that I am is very passionate, because I can relate to a lot of the kids that come in here. And I always, when parents say, I'll say, well, why did you start martial arts? They'll say, well, he's being bullied at school. And I always kind of, oh, well, I'm going to keep my eye on you and so forth. But I think that when the kids are when they come in here, we teach breathing. We really every technique that we do, breathing, punching, breathing, kicking, breathing. Anytime you're moving, breathing, proper breathing. And it's true in life as well. If you when you get angry, if you just how many times you stay back and say, let me just take a deep breath, and breathing really can help regulate emotions, help regulate uh, your heart rate, fear, anxiety. Breathing can help you with that. Martial arts or no martial arts. And when we give the kids the confidence to be able to be comfortable with themselves, then I find that that is almost the best anti-bullying uh, uh, lesson that you can teach.
A life lesson too, sure.
And well, we had a young boy that trained here, and he was 6 years old. And he, of course, I don't know anything about him outside of when he came and started taking classes. And the mom came up to me, and he had been training with me for about a year. And the mom says, I just want to let you know, when he started training with you, before he started training with you, he was supposed to do a play. And he was supposed to be a tree on a stage, stand on the stage and hold his hands out. He was just a tree. And he cried,
He
and
was a wreck.
he was anxious. He didn't want to do it. We couldn't even get him to just stand on the stage and just he wouldn't even go on the
Well,
stage.
you know why? He wanted to leave.
Right.
Sorry.
And
Really? I was going to say it was a weeping willow, but no, continue.
but you should branch out with your jokes, because you're barking up the wrong tree. I'm sorry you had to hear that. All
Touche.
right.
I can't do it in the fall.
So a year later, they had the play again. Well, not only was this child in the play, he had the lead role
Wow.
in the play. And the mom wrote me this very nice letter that I knew nothing about this in the past. And she said a year ago, and told me the story, and then said that she credits his training to
Absolutely.
have the confidence to be able to do that. And those are the little things that martial arts can do for children that goes way beyond fighting and self-defense.
Well, and you've seen that in yourself, obviously, as well, too, because as you embraced the martial arts, I would imagine that you're bullying. Like, what happened with you being bullied? Like, was it a confidence thing as well, too, to where you started to feel more confident in yourself and there wasn't continuous bullying, or what was that transition like for you?
Well, that's interesting. For me, my mom always told me.
Always listen to your mom. Always listen to your mom. Maybe, I don't know. Let's see. Go ahead.
I don't know. Maybe I need to get some coaching from you on this one, because I still of course always listen to your mom. But one thing that my mom always told me was never, ever, 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 ever hit anybody back.
Mm.
And that was to include, if somebody hit me, I was not to hit them back.
Ooh.
So I just never hit anybody back. I never stood up for myself because I thought I would get in trouble at the house. So I think that may have contributed at the time a little bit to that. But I also, some kids would just hit other kids anyway. But I did listen to my mom, and I did not hit anybody back. And, I don't know.
Until one day.
Until one day. Well, so yeah, until one day. And and actually the first person that I did hit was a girl. Now, hold on.
No, it's too late.
You don't want to get canceled. You don't want to get canceled.
Our bully in our neighborhood was a girl. She was a girl.
Girls can be bullies.
And also, I was 10 or 11.
She probably liked you.
She would harass everybody. She would throw them on the ground. She would kick them. She would hit them. And we were standing out at the bus stop one day, and somebody had pulled her hat off of her head
Oh
and
no. Oh,
thrown it to me, and I caught it, and she was coming at
oh
me, and I
jeez.
threw it back to the other guy, and she came at me, and she took her fingernails and she raked it down my face, and it
Ah.
caught the corner of my. I still have a little scar over here from where she, and I put my hand up to my face and pulled it back, and it was bloody. It burned, and I just had blood all over my hand, and I
Oh,
took and I punched her in the stomach, and then we both got called into the principal's office, and when we got called into the principal's office, it was this big thing about, well, you hit a girl. I'm like, my mom's like, look at his face,
really?
and I just had but that was the first time I ever hit anybody.
Where is she today?
I have no idea.
Guantanamo.
I have no idea. We actually became friends later on when we grew up a little bit. And we actually saw each other. We were always, we grew to have, I don't want to say a friendship, but I don't think anybody dwelled on what happened. She was, I don't know how many people can say that they have a girl that's a bully in their neighborhood, but I did. And
Well, like
she was
Jamie and I have discussed the Ed Lentz, and I'm sure she came with a very strange background story. I'm sure. So,
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
there's trauma
sure,
there. Yeah.
and she was. I mean, she was a strong girl. She was very strong. We were all terrified of her.
Yeah.
We
Well,
were
and
all
she's
terrified.
learning that somewhere else, right? Like there's probably like, she learned that and it's unfortunate like that's how it came out of her. There was something inside of her that was tearing her up. Like that's how she felt confident by hurting others, right? So
Right.
interesting. Well, so you do karate, you go to school, and then did you go to college after that, after you graduated, and then do martial arts and start competing then, or when did you start competing? Because I know you competed.
So so no, when I graduated from high school, I went to a private military high school. And when I graduated, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I didn't know what I wanted to be, and I was trying to figure that out. So I had done uh, 2 years or a year and a half at college at VCU, Virginia Commonwealth University in Richmond, and I just said, you know what? I think I want to join the Marine Corps because I had earned my black belt at that point, and I had heard how physical and psychologically demanding being a Marine Corps boot camp was. So I joined the Marine Corps, and like, I know it sounds crazy, but I absolutely loved boot camp. I loved being yelled at and having to do the push-ups, all the running. I absolutely loved it. So yeah, that's why I joined the Marines. And then when I got out of the Marine Corps, I worked for a couple years, and then I went to a community college in Richmond, got my AA, and then I got accepted to Florida State, came down here at Tallahassee, and then I ended up getting my bachelor's degree.
Russell, just a question: in the Marine Corps, what style do they use for hand-to-hand combat training?
That's interesting because you always think that. So now they have a program called MCMAP, which is Marine Corps Martial Arts Program. They didn't have that when I went through boot camp back in the late 80s. So our hand-to-hand, everyone thinks that Marines are taught to kill and all of this, but it's really only 2 days of hand-to-hand. And when I went to do the hand-to-hand combat, we were doing takedowns, and I took this guy down, and the drill instructor came up to me and said, you obviously have some training. If you can tell me why what you did is better than what I did, I won't mess with you for the rest of hand to hand. And I said, well, sir, this is your leverage point and this. And he goes, good enough for me. So those were the only 2 days during boot camp that I didn't get yelled at. So yeah, it was 2 days of hand to hand.
Wow.
Question: as a factoid, I know karate stands for open hand, correct?
Correct.
It was developed by Japanese farmers who couldn't have war implements of how to defend themselves, or
Well, so karate came to Okinawa from China, and then it went to mainland Japan. But yeah, the farming implements and the samurai and the warrior classes and all that I'm not a historian by any stretch of the imagination. I know that the traditional martial arts weapons were developed from farming instruments, the bow staff, the nunchaku, the sai. All of those were farming weapons because the commoners, common class, were not allowed to carry the katana or the swords.
And who brought it to the States and when?
Well, so the first person to bring karate to the U.S. That's the military. Our military trained and brought it over. Now, Ed Parker was one of the biggest influences in introducing karate to the United States. There was a gentleman by the name of Jun Rhee who Jun Rhee opened the first Taekwondo school, but it was actually going to be Korean karate. Until they were going to call it Korean karate until it turns out until Choi Young-hee said, "Hey, let's call it Taekwondo. We want that to have our own the Korean heritage. We want to introduce that." So instead of Korean karate, it was Taekwondo, and Jun Rhee opened the first Taekwondo school.
It's so incredible. I have seen the transformation just in kids that are, go to our dojo, and even in my own child, to see like you were talking earlier about the confidence, and to see that. And it's just, and the respect and the discipline and things that, as a parent, you want to teach and you try to teach that, but then it gets reinforced by the elders per se. And I'm not talking like older, but just the people that are helping that. And it's incredible. It's incredible what you do every day. And you've been teaching since 2011. So you've got kids now, or students, I'm sure that, are, having their own children and thinking about that. And I don't know, have you had multiple generations come back to train with you?
Yeah, that is a great question. So I've been open for 13 years. A couple of my students have been with me for just about that entire 13-year journey. I've had students that have trained with me. They took a break for a few years, came back with their kids and started training again with their 5 and 6-year-old children. I have got, we have a student, who the mom was pregnant. Her son was training here. And then after she gave birth and became old enough, she started training here as well. So she said, "Well, you were literally raised in this dojo." And it's it's wonderful. It's wonderful to see that. And our schools I've been open for 13 years, but we have schools in Virginia that we have third generation students training. And there's a lot of schools that do a lot of wonderful things. When you have the longevity, the bringing your kids in and then their kids come in, I mean, that's really a testament to great teaching in my opinion, because you're teaching more than just punching or kicking.
Mm-hmm.
At what point in training is there any contact made at all?
Yeah, we make contact, of course, but it's controlled contact. So going back to earlier when we were talking about the fighting and all that in school, we teach control through the breathing, but we teach controlled contact. And we do have some harder sparring sessions, but controlled contact is first and foremost. Safety is a priority, of course, the number one priority. We don't want anyone to get hurt. And if anyone's when we spar, there's a lot of the mentality for most people is, I've got to beat this other person. I've got to be better than they are. What does that even mean? Right? I mean, if you're been training and you're a blue belt and you can handle a white belt, does that mean that you're better than them? I mean, I don't know. I don't think it does. So we teach our students, we call it flowing. So being able to work with and trying to keep the energy level the same. And if one student starts to get elevated, then we teach them, hey, you got to bring it back down. And sometimes it's up to the other student to, okay, they're getting elevated. Let's bring it back down to a more controlled level.
Now, what about tournaments though?
We don't do a lot of tournaments. I I personally am not a huge fan of tournament fighting. I don't think there's anything wrong with tournaments. I enjoy tournaments. I was at the tournament when I met you. But I love to watch. I think it's great. But tournament fighting and self-defense are not always the same thing. In tournament fighting, you are trained to hit somebody first and then get out. And then you have judges call a point. Okay, oh, we saw something. All right, point call. And okay, now you restart. And that's not what a fight or an altercation is. There's no stopping. So if you get hit, you have to be able to keep going. You have to be able to work through getting hit. You can't just stop and be like, I need a second. You have to be able to keep going. So when we spar also, we use gloves and pads at a higher level, but when we first introduced sparring, we don't. And some parents are like, well, that sounds kind of backwards. Why do you not use pads when you spar? And well, if you have pads on, you have to form your hands certain ways when you block or when you hit. And when you have pads on, your hands are not formed the same with pads than without pads. If you have to learn how to block or trap a punch or a kick or something to that effect, you have to be able to understand what your hands are doing. And you don't have pads on when you're outside and somebody jumps out from behind a car. You don't have pads on.
As a follow-up,
hold on a second, guy. I need to stretch out a little bit. I got to do this one. All right, now I'm ready. So we teach controlled sparring. So controlled contact sparring. Most karate instructors know that the most dangerous people in the karate school are white belts. Because
they can't control it.
Well, they don't have the control. They watch probably way too many YouTube videos, have seen way too many movies, and they're going to try some technique that they saw on the internet. And so the white belt students are usually the most creative when they first start sparring.
Any personal stories of you in street clothes going about your business getting accosted?
Outside of the girl at the bus station.
Oh, the bus. Yeah. By the way, it didn't even phase her. Okay. I think I broke my hand when I tried to punch her in the stomach. I didn't say that earlier. Okay. It didn't do anything. I didn't know how to hit anybody. All right, I was going, man. But she's already
like a motivational speaker today somewhere. She's like, let me tell you what happens. Don't hit anybody.
Yeah.
They'll hit you back.
Yeah. Well, kids, right? Am I right, kids?
Yeah. I see
but
bullying
so I just try to. Have I ever had to? I worked when I was going through school, I worked in as a bar manager. They didn't have security. So I was kind of the security, but I don't even like even saying that because I was just breaking up fights. I was never in a fight for me. I was trying to break it up and get them outside. With that being said, I've had pool sticks swung at me. I've had pool balls thrown at me, beer bottles thrown at me. I've been spit on. I've had people try to hit me before. No one's made contact on me, and I've had to kick a couple of people, but I wasn't even trying to hurt them. I was just trying to keep them off of me so I could control them. So we've
Chuck Norris them.
Chuck Norris them. But I've never had to hit anyone. I always try to be aware of my surroundings. If I see something that looks like it could be problematic, I try to avoid it. Situational awareness is something that people preach, but I don't think that people hear it, but they don't necessarily implement it. I tell parents every year around Christmas time, when you're going in the parking lot, I said, this is not just for students, this is for parents, and all the parents will look up from their phones, and I'll say, when you're going to your phone, when you're going to your car from the mall around Christmas time, keep your phone in your pocket. Yeah. Remember where you park without having to hit the key fob and have your car light and have your lights blink,
Yeah.
right? Because you just told the bad guy where you are,
Yeah.
right? If you have your phone in your face and it's dark out and you're blinded for a couple of seconds, you can't see.
Yeah.
And we just kind of we get a little bit lazy and complacent with just everyday situations like that. And being aware of your surroundings is certainly, I mean, you can't say that enough. And I will say this though, speaking of, I have had students that have had situations that have happened and they've come and talked to me about it. I
Mhm.
had two students, a husband and a wife couple, that was they were jumped around Christmas time in a Walmart parking lot. What the girl the wife was actually stabbed in the face with a pencil. It went through her cheek, and the husband was outside the car and the girl was inside the car with the wife, and they had to fight off these people who were trying to take trying to rob them.
Oh
Wow.
my
And
God.
they called me up and said, "Hey, this is what just happened to us. Thank goodness we knew what we knew. Uh, I guess I need to teach a pencil thrust to the face
Oh
block better. I don't
my
know." And then
gosh.
I had another lady that trained with me, and she had gotten married and moved to another city in South Florida. And when she got married, her turns out her husband was quite abusive. And these are the stories that nobody likes to talk about. But she moved back immediately and called me up and came in and talked to me. And she said, "I think you saved my life." And I said, what happened? What are you talking about?" And she told me that her husband had was throwing her around, choking her, and was trying to kill her. And she was able to use a couple of techniques that just to get herself in a position to be able to get out of the situation, to be able to leave. And
Mhm.
she came in you never want to hear anybody that ever actually has to use martial arts in that serious of a
Yeah.
situation.
But that's what you train for, right? Like you train for the knowledge, the understanding, the discipline, but also you're training to help yourself and protect yourself. I don't mean to disqualify anything you just said, but Dad, what are you wearing?
You got to dress for success. The bad guys will always go to the weakest looking person. If you look like you're crazy, they will stay away from you.
You're,
Correct?
you're very
Yes.
successful right now in that. For listener, you can't see, but my dad has put on some crazy hat and some glasses. I'm like, Dad, seriously. I think that what you're talking about, like the situational awareness is huge. And my dad probably doesn't remember this, but I must have been like 15 and we went for a bike ride. And my dad's always, I'm talking like him, he's in third person, but he's right here. But he did yoga, he's read like all these different books and he knows a lot about martial arts. Like he just knew a little bit of everything. He was never like a big sports
I
guy.
know a lot about, I know a little about a lot of things rather than a lot about one thing. That's okay.
Yeah. But I remember, Dad, do you remember one time we were like going for a bike ride? You were trying to teach me about situational awareness and we're like talking and he's telling me about it. And then there's like a stick in the middle of the road and my dad's bike hits it and he almost like falls off his bike. Do you remember that?
There was an oath made at that time never to recount that particular story. So, no, I have no independent recall.
Yeah. But I think you're so
I
like
made my point, didn't I?
yeah, but you're so spot on with that because you're talking about like as you're saying at Christmas time, but your other friend, like it's about all the time, right? Like just being aware of your surroundings. And I think that like I love as a parent when I go and watch the class every time. It's twice a week. I'm not that parent that's on my phone. I'm never on my phone. I'm literally watching the class. That's a whole other thing that irks the crap out of me when I see parents like and their kids are looking to see, "Mommy, did you see that? Dad, did you see that?" And they're like, "Did I watch it?" I hate that. Anyway, so if you're that parent, yeah, I'm judging you. No, I'm just kidding. But so I'm watching, but I love that part of the class when they'll teach, like rolling. And then Segun will come over and he'll like push them into the roll. So it's like if you get pushed, that's how their roll is applied for that. Or I loved, when they were starting white belts, putting the hand on the shoulder and how do you get out of that? And I think like that as a parent, I love that part of the martial arts because I hope that nothing ever happens. But you said earlier, there's a girl bully there. We've got bullies in school right now. I remember in middle school, a girl tried to fight me, and I was like, I'm not now, but I was like a pipsqueak. I mean, like, I was like 4'6" or whatever, and weighed like I don't know 80 pounds. And I remember I had taken Taekwondo. I didn't use anything for that, but just that confidence, knowing that you can keep yourself safe, is incredible. And I love that you get to do that every day. I think it's, I talk about yoga, mind, body, and spirit, but I really believe that martial arts is the same thing. You're teaching your kids to have the confidence, understand their body, and then use it in a spirit that is not aggressive, but to defend yourself too. And I think that's amazing.
I think if the only thing that you teach is just the punching and the kicking, I think that you're doing a disservice
Agree.
to the students, because that is a byproduct of what you're learning inside of yourself.
Yeah.
Right. Having a, good spirit or a good attitude, or having a little bit more of an optimistic output is what is important. If you can change a mindset, then you've really taught something.
I love that. All right, here's my last question for you. So you go back to Russell, 12 years old, or like before you figure out like martial arts, what advice would you give your younger self now, knowing where your path has gone over the last, couple decades to get to where you are now?
Open my school a lot sooner.
Mm.
I mean, I think just trust yourself, surround yourself with good people. There are so many people that just, I don't understand how you can surround yourself with toxic people. And I understand that sometimes a relationship, just any kind of relationship, friends, I think there's a lot of people that have that one friend that, oh, here comes so and so, they're negative, they're going to say something bad. And just, if you can get away from the toxicity of those types of people, and surround yourself with good, healthy people that do good, healthy things, I think that you thrive internally, because you have less conflict in yourself. And when you can harmonize with yourself, and you have a good support system around you, friends, family, or otherwise, I mean, I don't think you can ask for any more than that.
There are so few of us.
Yeah. Humility. I
I'll keep
too
that for
am
tomorrow.
extremely humble.
And if you started much earlier, you would even save more money on a wardrobe.
That's right. My
No,
mom
those gis are expensive. Those gis
They
are.
are. They are. This one is a actual Japanese gi. This thing should fold the rest of my laundry for me or something. But yeah, it's my mom still buys me like nice button-down shirts. I'm like, Mom, this is my work uniform. This is what I wear to work. I've got probably 20 button-down shirts I've never worn. I just never have the opportunity to.
I love it. Well, I think it's so incredible what you're doing. And, I think it's funny because you said that you were, smaller than everyone else. And I would tell you, Dad, you can't really tell from just Zoom, but there's not a chance in ever, like if you saw Russell in person, that you'd ever mess with him. Like your demeanor, like whether it's a confidence that you're walking with or whatever it is, like I'd be like, if I saw you in a dark alley, I'd be like, no, I'm good. I'm good. Just kidding.
Well,
But to think that you were like once that kid that people, and I just think that's a great message for people,
Well, I had I always get these hypotheticals, and I understand hypothetical questions, but they're unnecessary.
Sure.
They're just unnecessary. It doesn't do anybody any service, it doesn't do any good to worry about things that could happen, because
Sure.
things either happen or they don't happen. And if you worry about exponentially, your mind just goes all these different places. Is not good. But I had a student ask me the other day, if I'm in an alley, this is them. If I'm in an alley and I have 5 people surrounding me, what would you do? I said, what would I do? I would ask myself, what the heck did I do to get myself surrounded in an alley by 5 people? And they're like, I didn't think about that. Yeah. But yeah. And I do want to say this before we depart.
Oh yeah.
Jamie,
Don't say the part to a retired person.
you said taekwondo, right? Taekwondo?
I did taekwondo. My daughter's in karate. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you
I'm
ever
an Aikido fan. Aikido.
Aikido? So you are familiar with the they call it dobak, right? In taekwondo, they have a martial art It's very, very formal. We talked about the dress shirts where you dress very, very nice and practice martial. You haven't seen that one?
Oh.
It's called bow taekwondo. Bow tie.
Ha, ha,
So,
ha,
If you
ha.
have to explain
Oh,
it.
you need to work on that one a little bit.
is this Monday? That joke's funnier on Wednesdays.
Is
That
this
joke is
thing
funnier
on? Is this
Wednesdays.
Oh, I was like, where is it here? Where's the kicker? You know, I think I just got kicked like Chuck Norris.
Russell, you are an inspiring point of light, and congratulations. Great work.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do
please.
not ever hit a woman. I was
Yes.
10.
Unless they deserve it.
I hurt my hand. It did not a good idea.
You know, I just think it's fascinating what you're doing. And I got to learn so much more about your story outside of just the bar. We were gonna, learn a small tidbit there, but thank you for what you are doing every day to help.
Well, you met at a bar?
You did. I was with my husband.
What were you drinking?
Yeah.
Sensei,
Yeah.
what were you drinking?
We were talking about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was drinking a margarita.
Oh.
They had a delicious margarita. There was a lady beside me that was drinking one. I was like, that looks really good. And to be fair, the reason we were at a bar is because the restaurant was completely crowded. It was an hour and a half wait for our group to have a table, and we'd already had a very long day. So the only bar seating was first come first serve. So and they had a spot that was open, just happened to be across from you and your family. And
Fun fact, Disney allows kids to sit at the bar. Like
Mhm.
it's a weird thing. We were like, can we sit here? We've got a kid. Yeah, Disney allows a kid to sit at the bar. It's like the most craziest thing, but they do. So we were all sitting there and just chatting, and we were started talking to think about wasn't it an $1,800 shot of tequila? It's like
Right.
Michael Jordan's tequila or something, right?
That's right. That's right. That's right.
$1,800 for a shot of it, Dad.
Well, the shot is not that big, Jamie.
Yeah. It should be 1,800.
Yeah. A shot, like,
That's funny. That's funny.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us. Like I said, I have such an immense respect for, senseis like yourself and Arsekun who just help kids grow. And that's what it takes, a village. And you are part of someone's village, and you are that parental figure to other, kids just like you who are growing up and need that support and that guidance. And you're like a modern day Mr. Miyagi. I think he's passed, right? May he rest in peace.
Yes.
Yeah.
Keep the chi flowing.
So, Mr. Miyagi, there is a gentleman named Fumio Demura. When I was growing up, Fumio Demura had these books on going back to the traditional martial arts weapons. Fumio Demura was Mr. Miyagi, or Pat Morita's stunt double in the Karate Kid.
Oh, crazy.
So he was he actually was a legit, not Pat Morita, but Fumio Demura. He was one of my idols growing up with all of the weapons and everything. And then, and you may not know this as well, and then I'll let you go. But as a martial artist, do you know, we have nutritional needs, right? We have nutritional needs.
Jamie, we're getting set up.
You have to eat and drink certain things to make sure you are in shape.
We're there. Tell us more.
So thank you. So first of all, you may not know, but karate people, we got to eat our protein. Best thing to eat for a karate person, a pork chop.
Love it.
And we have to have different options for drinks, right? So what do we drink? Well, we drink punch. and also, one thing that we definitely drink is very good for your body is water. Water.
I'm going to do that tonight at dinner. I'm going to tell my daughter that's what I want for her. I want her to get the drink.
Hey, Russell, that's a strong 3 minutes.
That is.
Thank you.
Well, I am going to do my best to get you connected with Chuck Norris and have that meeting happen. And maybe, Bill Wallace, was it Left Foot? Right. Is that Bill?
Bigfoot.
Superfoot Wallace can help that happen. I'm going to bring this back together to the 6 degrees of separation, and then we'll let you go back to inspiring the lives in your dojo. But so we interviewed somebody not too long ago, and Dad, I'm not sure if you remember this, but her stepbrother was in the Karate Kid 2. He is the kid from Japan that Daniel Russo competes against.
Oh.
So we're
Who's
bringing
also been in the Cobra Kai this season.
Yes, he's now in the Cobra Kai as well too. So we're bringing it all back together where you knew the original Pat Morita and you know John Kreese. And now if there's ever a reunion, please invite us. We'd like to interview
Yeah.
all of us.
Well, absolutely. And
As long
likewise.
as I can go like this or I can go honk.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for spending time with us the other day. I'm so grateful that you said yes. And it's been a pleasure actually hearing your story and for you to share it with our audiences too.
And margaritas are on us.
Yeah. Sweet. Woo.
Yes. Not the
Thank you
HMS
so much.
one, though. Thank you.
Y'all take care.
You
It's
too.
fun. Thank you,
Bye.
Russell.
Nice to
Bye-bye.
meet you. Bye-bye.
How cool was that?
I was going to end on we should all give a nice key eye, but I figured it would make too much noise in the house. Yeah! Yeah! What the? What the? So it was pork chop,
Pork chop,
punch,
and
what the? What the?
and by the way,
is he a big guy? Physically, is he a big guy?
I mean, we were sitting in the bar, but he's like, yeah, he's like super built and yeah, that. I mean, like I said, I would not mess with him. Like a dark.
Saying, by the way, you were saying what? By the way.
Oh, he's like telling a really true, like deep story about these people being attacked, and you're putting on camo hats and sunglasses. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me right now?
See me? You ignored me.
I was ignoring you on purpose because I was
My
like,
combat uniform.
Oh my God. Next thing you need to go put a gorilla costume on.
Man, did I have time? A missed opportunity.
Oh my gosh. I love this. I mean, we literally met him sitting at the bar, and true story, behold, David, my husband, spoke to him more and was like had like a man crush on him for sure. He was like, oh man, this guy's so fascinating. He's so incredibly, like, it's amazing. And he was like, you got to interview him. I'm like, you're right, I do. And I just I said, give me your information. It was so cool. And I'm so glad.
Well, unfortunately, we're kind of living in an age when a lot of the kids, they really lack any kind of discipline. Things are very easy for them. They're tied up in their phones. They can't be in the moment because they're in somebody else's moment or something else. So it brings things back to the basics. The basics are very important. Once you get away from the basics, you're gonna have issues, and we have a lot of issues.
And it's just the confidence piece. I think you talked about, of all ages, you can learn and grow from that. So,
well, and the breathing is very important because it's funny. We have the fight or flight response, and when you're fighting and excited, your breathing becomes very, very shallow, and your whole vision becomes very, very focused down to like a dot, and you really don't see anything else. By breathing and relaxing in the flight response, you can see things a lot more clearly. You can do things calmly. When you ask about what number you are, the whole Eastern philosophy is never get too excited and never get too depressed. Keep an even keel all the time, and you really be able to enjoy life a lot more.
and that's what he said.
Yeah, he's perfect. He's an 8. Consistent 8 is perfect. That's what she said. Yeah. Find that girl and crash her eyes out of her.
Yeah, right. Oh my goodness. Well, hey, listen, that's why these podcasts, What's Your Story Unfiltered, are so impactful. And I hope that listener that this, inspires you to think about maybe someone that you maybe bullied in the past, or maybe you're being a bully now, or maybe somewhere where you weren't confident and you can be, and either you get martial arts or you just realize that, listen, we all struggle through this. Like, you're not alone, and everyone has these things in our lives. And I think it's incredible. So
when are we posting some of these to share with the world?
by right now, they're listening to them. So silly question.
They are?
I'm going to stop recording. Listeners,
crap.
for listening to it, I'm going to brief my dad on this unfiltered podcast about present day recording. Until next time, we'll see you next time, listener.
Adios, kids. Bye-bye.
Hey, thank you for tuning into today's What's Your Story podcast.
To learn more or share your story, go to jamiemarco.com. That's www.jaimemarco.com. And we will see you next time.